Marathon's only been out for a couple hours, but I've gotten my way through the initial contracts and I've got some good impressions. I want to give you my initial thoughts on the gunplay, movement, enemies, characters, looting, maps, progression, lore, bugs, everything there is to know about the alpha at its current state. I know there's still a lot of ironing out that needs to occur between now and the game's release, given that it's just an alpha, but overall, I'm starting to have a lot of fun with this game. To start, the gunplay feels pretty good. We only have a couple of the guns, so you have an AR, an SMG, sniper, the traditional guns you would expect. I haven't messed around too much with modding the weapons, so things like the ADS feels a little bit clunky and a little slow. I would expect that once you get these builds up and running with blue, purple, even some legendary items and mods, it'll feel a lot better. As for the recoil and the ability to control it, it's pretty reasonable. The guns feel like you would expect them to, ARs feel powerful and fast firing rate, SMGs feel great up close, snipers feel good long range, the usual. As for the movement, I do feel like it's a bit clunky. Coming from games like Destiny, Apex, COD, you would expect a little bit more lateral movement as well, and it feels like you're kind of stuck on a disc. I don't really know how to describe it, it just feels like you can't really move left and right without looking that direction and then sprinting forward. I really hope they increase the strafe speed because that'll help a ton not only in gunplay, but just in moving around the map in general. That was probably my biggest takeaway, is that you feel a little slow. There are skills to develop, so maybe you get more agile as you increase your rep with factions and complete contracts, but right now it just feels really bad to start. Again, it could be locked behind progression, which would be okay, but for right now, the initial impression is it feels way too slow. For the enemies, they are definitely powerful. My first ever run, I kind of underestimated the dropship that was coming in and kept looting and got absolutely smoked. I had another run where I tried to get an exfil and we got it successfully, but there were some UESC soldiers guarding it and it didn't make it easy. I've heard a lot of content creators talk about the fact that you can't discount the enemies, and that is totally true. Some are just your normal gun-toting soldiers, others have shields, others have a ton of health and are kind of tanky, so it's really fun to be able to see the differences between those enemy types. As for the runners, you have the 4 runners in Blackbird, Locust, Glitch, and Void. As a Destiny player, I saw Void and immediately thought of the Void Hunter, so I used that to get the invisibility. I'll do a full breakdown on all of the runners and the best way to play those, as I'm going to do a video for each one and how to master them in their playstyle. Overall though, Void felt pretty good, being able to use invisibility to get out of some tight situations. I was able to use the ultimate ability to put a cloud of smoke over the exfil to help my team get out safely. I really like that for the end game. The overall looting experience is good. Obviously there's gray, green, blue, purple, yellow loot colors, which helps you know if it's rare, valuable, whether you should leave it. I like that a lot. That's similar to other games and I wouldn't expect anything less. I do appreciate that it tells you how much something is worth when you pick it up, because in other games like Tarkov, you have no idea if something is good or bad. I will say, I cannot wait to have an oversized backpack or something to help with my loot space, because right now, I pick up a few things and I'm out of space. Again, that's probably locked within the progression, so I'm not too worried about that. You have your standard loot areas, you have crates, you have lockboxes, you can kill enemies and take their weapons, everything seems pretty reasonable. We only have 2 maps right now and they both feel fine, nothing too exciting here to be honest. You have some grassy areas, you have some hills, you have some buildings, nothing too crazy from my impressions. As for the progression, this is probably the part of the game I'm most interested in. I feel like when I play games like Apex or Warzone, there's not really much to do other than try to win, which is kind of boring in my opinion. Yes, technically you can try to complete your daily challenges and battle pass stuff, but there's no real benefit to taking gunfights other than just winning or completing those challenges. Whereas in Marathon, if I go into a building and find some loot, I can turn that in to increase my backpack size. I can increase my sprint speed. I can increase different things about my character that make it easier as you go through the progression system. So if you want to play solo, you could focus on certain abilities that make your character faster or heal better versus reviving or something like that. It gives players something to do within the game other than just try to kill as many people as they can. I think this is where the longevity of the game is going to come from, and the thing I genuinely think is going to keep me hooked. We only have access to a couple of the factions, but there's so much to do within those trees that'll keep me interested in the alpha until the end. Marathon has a ton of lore behind it, and telling it through the contracts and through the AIs and the factions I think is going to be a really interesting way to do it. The one thing I think they have to do is get a little bit away from the extraction in a way that allows players to gear up and then go into some kind of dungeon or raid activity. When I think of playing Destiny, which I've done a lot of, some of my favorite memories are loading in with a couple buddies and going through a dungeon and getting the boss killed, or going through a raid with 5 other people, whether I know them or not, and completing the crazy tasks that's associated with it. That would help explain the narrative, the maps, the enemies, and everything else that goes into this game, while also allowing us to play an extraction shooter that's just downright fun. Any playtest before launch is gonna have bugs, so if you see anything from my gameplay or anyone else, just know it's an alpha. Hopefully that'll get solved by the beta, and it'll certainly be fixed by the release. I'm taking a bunch of notes on all the issues that I've had to make sure that I can give that to the devs for them to fix. One notable thing I had is a mouse cursor issue, which it seems like other streamers are having an issue with as well, so hopefully that gets fixed. I've had to switch to controller just to be able to loot easily because the mouse cursor doesn't follow where I want it to go. Again, super weird bug, but that's just part of playing an alpha. So overall, is Marathon fun? I would say I'm having an absolute blast with it. As someone who's played extraction shooters like Tarkov, Battle Royale games like Apex Legends, and quest-focused games like Destiny, this feels like a great blend of all of those types of games. I genuinely think when the launch occurs, I'm going to be dead set on running through all the progression of the factions, and I cannot wait to grind this game. There's going to be tweaks from the alpha to the beta to the final launch, so take all of the gameplay, take all of the content that you're going to see with a grain of salt, because that will likely change. Even for myself, when I'm going through and getting frustrated with things, I know that that's going to change. Whether you have an alpha code or not, make sure to stay tuned because I'll be doing guides on the faction quests, how to master each runner, and the content leading up to the launch of Marathon.